Hey, it's Evie. Today's video, how you can get a text message from somebody, a phone call from somebody, social media contact from somebody, whatever you want basically, whether it's from a friend that you've lost touch with, an ex that you want to get back with, or somebody that you've got a crush on at the moment, because I get asked these questions all of the time. So it's the simplest way that I can tell you is just to intend it. You really only need to intend it, but your subconscious has to then accept that that could possibly happen. So that's easy enough when it's just a crush, somebody that you quite fancy, because you don't have any sort of emotional attachment to them, because you don't know them well enough, so you don't have any baggage. So just to intend that to happen is way, way easier than intending like an ex-friend or an ex-boyfriend or ex-husband, ex-wife, whatever, to come to you, because you do have emotion attached to those people, which makes it harder. Now, why does it make it harder? It only really makes it harder if that emotion and attachment is causing you resistance. So attachment is always going to cause you resistance and is always going to make it more difficult to manifest them by trying to manifest them. You don't want to try to manifest people in that way. You can manifest them, but you need to adopt a technique of doing it, and I'll tell you about that in a moment. So let's just say that you are trying to attract somebody that you fancy. You really fancy them, got a real crush on them, and your subconscious could accept that actually they might, you're okay. They might like you, they're not going out with anybody, they're not married or anything like that, they are single, so, and that doesn't matter, you can manifest them even if none of that were true, but for your subconscious, it's a lot easier to accept if all of those situations are in play. So if they are single, if they are sort of on your, in the same league as you, if that doesn't sound too ridiculous, again, it doesn't matter, but your subconscious needs to accept it. So the more likely you could be a couple, the more likely your subconscious will accept it. But like I say, it doesn't matter if your subconscious, if you've seen this most beautiful looking man or woman and you really, part of you thinks, well, they're totally out of my league, but your subconscious, but you can accept that it could happen, then it could happen, but you have to be able to accept that it can happen. So there's your first thing. We won't call it a hurdle because it's not a hurdle. So the easiest thing to do and the easiest way to manifest some kind of contact from this person is to imagine it, is to play it out in your mind. Now, I do know that some people can't visualize and they can't see things in their mind, and that doesn't matter. As I've said before in another video that I've talked about, aphantasia, where you can't visualize, you can actually feel things. You don't have to, and you know what you're seeing with your touch, if that makes any sense. But you would have imagined things in the past, but you probably haven't realized that you're not seeing them in pictures. You're imagining them in the way that you imagine, which is slightly different from people that see in pictures, but you're still imagining things. You still will imagine. So you could imagine a little scenario where they contacted you on, I don't know, whatever your social media is that you use, Instagram, Snapchat, Facebook, whatever you use. You could do that. And then you need to get the feeling of how you would feel when you got that. So that's really, really simple. And that probably is all that you need to do. Well, it is all you need to do, really. But what I like to do is get a reason for wanting this to happen. So telling yourself, giving your subconscious a reason. So you're saying, okay, I would like this person to get in touch with me. It can be any reason. It could be because I really fancy them, or because I really want to know what it's like to go on a date with them, or something. It's always easier for me if I have a reason, not for like attracting people, but anything. Well, if I wanted to, then I would do that as well. So give yourself a reason for wanting it, and then you just feel that want becomes a little bit stronger, and that desire then has a little bit more momentum, and it's as simple as that. So in that case, if it's nobody you've got attachment to, that is a brilliant way of attracting them into your life. And then once you've done that, you just say, because this just gives your rational brain a bit of leeway and a bit of, oh, okay, it's likely this will happen. So say now I've done this, there's a 95% chance that this will happen. Then you don't get hung up, because part of you accepts that maybe it won't happen. Even though it will happen, part of you needs to think that it's not. Because if you start thinking that this is magic and it should happen like this all of the time, then it doesn't happen fairly quickly for you. You'll start not believing in it. And that's why I say the 95% rule, because it's just easier. And I found that other people that I've given this advice to and coached with this, I found it so much easier. So I'm passing that on to you. So there you go, that's your scenario if it's not somebody that you have any emotional attachment to. So moving on to a specific person that you have had a relationship with in the past. It doesn't have to be an ex-boyfriend or an ex-girlfriend or an ex-friend. It doesn't have to be an ex-boyfriend or an ex-girlfriend. It could be an ex-friend, somebody that you're not in contact with anymore. You want to be in contact with them. Now, either it didn't end very nicely or in the best way, or it ended abruptly, or you finished it and regret finishing it, they finished it and you wish they hadn't finished it, all of that stuff. So you are going to have attachments there. For sure, you are going to have attachments. So the first thing that you need to do is let go of those attachments. The easiest way to do that is accept that situation as it was, but you're not trying to manifest that person as they were and with all of those things surrounding them. You are trying to manifest them in the way that you want this to be, in the way that you want it to come to you. So I suggest, and this is what works for me, and this has worked for other people that I've passed this on to, is to imagine bringing them into your life as a whole, as the person that you want them to be. So you visualize them being as you want them to be, saying to you the things that you would like them to say to you, just being, so in a way, they are a different person. So then you don't have all that baggage of manifesting that person back to you. With all that baggage and all that clutter, you're manifesting them separately as an entity, all by themselves, without all of that stuff. I can tell you, because I know circumstances don't matter in life with this stuff, they don't matter, but it's not that easy for your subconscious brain to accept that. So your subconscious brain, it's not so easy for your subconscious to accept that circumstances don't matter, because we've had it inbuilt all over the years. Oh, this happened, so this can't happen, and that happened, so that can't happen. Now that is actual nonsense. It really is not true. That's just what we've taught ourselves, and it isn't true. But we have to be easy on ourselves, and we have to be kind to ourselves, be kind to our subconscious, and understand that it's had all of this programming chucked at it. So we need to do this slightly differently. We need to make it easier for our subconscious. We need to ease our subconscious in gently. So the best way of doing that is imagining this person differently. Forget all of those other scenarios and whatever happened with that person in the past. That is gone. That's not now. That was then, and the past just does not matter. The past has no relevance on what you can manifest now. I promise you, I absolutely promise you, and I am proof of that in every single thing that I've manifested over the last few years. It's irrelevant what's happened in the past. So we chuck all that to the side. What I do, or what I used to do when I was really trying to get good at this, and I was getting good at this, is I was putting it somewhere. So I kind of imagined my head, and then I imagined this part outside of me, that anything that didn't serve me, or any negative circumstances that I didn't want to deal with, or that I knew I didn't have to deal with, I would put there. So in a sort of visionary, I didn't even sort of see a box or anything like that. I just knew it was there, and I was shifting things out. So I didn't have all this clutter in my head. And that's what you need to do before you start to try and manifest a person like that. You just need to do that. You need to be as clear as you possibly can. And then you need to, again, adopt the 95% rule. There's a 95% chance that this is going to happen. I am going to manifest this person. I am going to think of a scenario. And if I were you, I would keep doing the same scenario, and I would do it every day for a few minutes just before you fall asleep. You don't need to do any of this. None of us needs to do any of this. All you really need to do is intend, but we are trying to almost trick our subconscious mind into believing that this is actually happening, because, you're here, so you're not at that point where you can just intend and that's that. If you were, you would have done it by now, wouldn't you? So there are several things that you can do that make it easier for your subconscious to accept that this person is going to come back into your life. So if you do it, say 5, 6, 7 nights on the trot, when you're fairly sleepy, get this vision in your head, but don't make it a long one, because the longer and rambly it gets, you lose the point and you lose that feeling. So just a couple of minutes. You don't really want to go any more than a couple of minutes, and you want to get the feeling. So if it's a text you want, get the feeling of the words in the text. If it's a phone call, hear the phone call, imagine yourself on the phone. You don't have to see yourself if you can't see yourself, but you need to feel yourself. Feel as if you're holding a phone, talking on the phone. Again, these are all techniques and you don't need any of them, not really. You could just intend and walk away. And if you're really self-disciplined, you could do that, not a problem. I mean, you'll hear a lot about living in the end moment. Most people find that absolutely impossible, and that's completely understandable. So instead of doing that, you just need the feeling of the end moment. So you get the feeling of that text, you get the feeling of how it feels once you have it, you absolutely then let it go. So you don't have to stop thinking about them. Don't get stressed out thinking, oh, I keep thinking about them. That doesn't matter. You can do that as long as you're doing it in the knowledge that you've done all that you can to bring them back into your life. And actually, it's better than doing nothing, isn't it? Whatever way you look at it, it's better than doing nothing if you really want them back. And what harm can it do? It can't do any harm whatsoever. So that's a really good trick. I mean, that works every single time for me. If I want somebody to contact me, it works every single time. So, summing up, you can manifest absolutely anybody into your life. A thing, a person is the same as a thing, it's the same as a job, a new career, a new house, whatever. It's all the same. We're all energy. Everything's energy, and that's all that this is, energy. So if you start thinking of people as energy and don't think of them as people, if you're trying to manifest somebody into your life, don't think of that as a person. Think of it as the energy and the essence of that person you are trying to manifest into your life. But here's the thing, is changing that energy to be the energy that works for you, not any you don't want anything negative coming through, because you can manifest a person back into your life exactly as they were, if that's what you want, but it ended for a reason, so why do you want that? You don't really want that, do you? So I would suggest thinking of them as a new entity, a new person, as it were. They're not, they still have the essence of that person, but there are aspects of them that are different. So they're not quite the same person. So you're not actually having to bring that baggage with you, because you're not bringing that particular version of that person back. You're bringing a new version. By all means, ask away, ask a ton of questions, because I can answer them, and hopefully this was useful to you, and just give it a try. Like I say, all you really need to do is intend and then walk away. Intend, let it go. That's all you need to do. But that visualization exercise is really great, or feeling exercise. It's all in the feeling. Everything's in the feeling. It's not in what you see. So don't stress if you can't visualize, because no manifestation is in what you see. It's in the feeling that's created by the visualization. So if you can't visualize, you can feel. As long as you can feel, that's all that you need to do, and you can manifest.